Welcome to Beginner's Stretch, week 1, day 1. I have a face, here it is. And we're just gonna start sitting. So super easy, we're just gonna stay on the floor today. It's gonna be a lot of meditation, breathing, nice little Shavasana at the end. So if you wanna grab a pillow or a blanket just for that part, if you're fine just laying without, absolutely. You can also skip the Shavasana and go do something else, or lie on the couch, or go to bed. That's totally up to you. But first, finding your preferred sitting position. And we're just gonna start connecting to our breath for today. Just drop into our physical selves. Hands on the knees, palms facing up, preferably, but they don't have to. And just start to take notice of how you are feeling today. Notice your breath, notice any tension. Don't worry about it, just notice it. If you've got a bunch of thoughts running around in your head, notice those too, that's okay. If you notice you want a sweater or a drink of water now, this is an excellent time to go grab it very quickly. And then starting to pay a little bit more attention to your breath. Starting to breathe a little bit lower into the abdominals if you can. If you need to put your hands here just below the belly button as a reference point. Try and breathe into your hands. Mouth can be open or closed. You can breathe through your nose or your mouth. Doesn't matter right now. Just try and send all of that air as low into your abdomen as you can when you're breathing in. And controlled exhale out. Try and empty your chest down first. Any air that's in the rib cage comes out first, and then the belly empties. Trying to make your breathing a little bit slower, a little bit deeper. And then if you are slouching, rolling the shoulders back. Imagining a little string at the top of your head, pulling you up so that your spine comes a little bit straighter. And trying to keep that posture as we keep breathing. Really press into the ground or your chair with your hips and use that pressure to rise up a little bit more. And we'll start to just open and close the hands, just bringing a little bit of awareness to our hands. Inhale to open, spread the fingers really, really wide. Hands can stay on the knees or you can lift them up, totally up to you. Exhale, curl your fingers into a fist. Inhale to open. Exhale, fist. Inhale, open. Exhale, fist. And then bringing the entire arms into it. Inhale, lift the arms all the way up overhead. They don't actually have to touch. And turn the palms down as you exhale. Bring your fingertips back down to the ground. Turn the palms up. Inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, palms down, hands down. One more, just like that. Inhale. And exhale. time, arm circles, hands coming forward as you inhale to lift them up, palms facing each other. And turn palms down, hands to the mat. Arms coming forward, inhale, bumped my knees there. And exhale, circle. One more, inhale, reach, keep your shoulders back, reach for the arms and the fingers. And exhale, hands to the mat. Keep your hands here. You can have your fingers tented. You don't have to have your full palm to the ground. And just try and rotate your arms open a little bit. So we're going to open the shoulders as though you want to turn your hands up, but fingers are actually going to stay on the mat. You're just going to feel that rotation in the shoulders as you lift your chest. And then lift your nose just a little bit. You don't have to look all the way up the ceiling. That's a lot of pressure in the back of the neck. Just a little lift. And then tuck your chin into your chest. Let your head come all the way down. Lift your nose, coming back up to center. Turn your head to look over your right shoulder. Doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to actually get your chin all the way over. And back through center, going the other way, looking over your left shoulder. You might be feeling this in your wrists already if they're really tight. And back to center. This time, right ear to right shoulder. Again, you might feel this somewhere in the forearm if you're really tight. If it feels like it's painful, you can let that arm relax. Absolutely. Coming up through center, left ear to left shoulder. If the stretch is too much in the arm, let the right hand relax. And back up to center, right ear to right shoulder. Again, this time just a little half circle. So tucking the chin into the chest and letting your left ear come around to left shoulder, just the front side of the circle. Don't like to do circles all the way around the back. It's really hard on your C-spine. So just a little back and forth with your little neck rolls. Again, hands can relax if it's feeling too stressful for the forearms or the wrists if you spend a lot of time at computers. And let your head come back to center. Again, lifting the nose to come back up to a neutral head, neutral neck. And bring your arms out to a T. So keep your shoulder blades back and down. You want to make sure your shoulders are not rising up towards your ears. So imagine your shoulder blades really pulling down towards the spine and a little bit in. So they're going to go, is kind of the feeling. Arms out. If you can't get your arms all the way up, they can be a little bit low. Totally okay. From here, inhale to open the palms up. Lift your nose just a little bit. Exhale, palms turn down, nose comes down, chin to chest. Inhale, open up the palms, lift the nose. Exhale, palms turn down, chin to chest. Inhale, open up the palms, lift your chest. And feel a rotation in your shoulders as you exhale. Turn the palms down, turn your shoulders in, round a little bit in the upper back. I'll turn to the side so you can see what I'm doing. Inhale to open, to neutral spine or a little bit of an arch. Exhale, just a little bit of a curve in the upper back. So we're getting the shoulders working, getting the upper back moving here. Just a little bit back and forth. Taking your time, feeling every single muscle movement here. Moving with your breath and keeping your breath as slow as possible. have my hands curled in because there's a wall. And coming back to center, come through neutral, let your arms come down to your sides. I will turn back to face you again. Right hand down to the mat. Inhale, lift your left arm up. And exhale, little side bend over to the right. So keeping that right hand for balance, a little bit of support. If you need to slide it out a little, absolutely keep both hips down on the ground. Really ground your left hip down. You can feel that stretch all on that left side here. You might feel it a little more in the shoulder. You might feel it a little more in the hip or the lower back. If it's painful, just come up a little bit. Totally okay. And we'll switch. Inhale to come through the arms at a T. Left hand down, exhale, tilt the other way. Rounding down with the right hip now. Breathing into the whole right side of the body. And switching over, back to the first side. Inhale through T. Exhale, side bend over to the right. Just for a moment here. Inhale through T. Exhale, side bend over to the left. One more time, each side. Inhale to T. Exhale to the right. Inhale to T. Exhale to the left. Inhale, coming up through center, both arms up, palms facing each other, spine really tall. Exhale, bring your left hand down to your right knee, look over your right shoulder. Again, you don't have to actually look all the way over, just as far as you feel you can. No strain in the back. This should be a super gentle twist. Maybe both of your hands are on your thigh, totally okay. Right hand might be behind you. On every inhale, pull that string at the top of your head a little bit taller. On your exhale, let yourself twist a little more. If you're feeling any strain in the lower back, come out of your twist a little bit and just find whichever point feels okay. Maybe both hands are on the knee. Maybe this is your twist. Totally okay. Both hips very grounded down into the ground. And we'll switch to the other side. Come back to neutral. Inhale, lift both arms up, palms facing each other. Stretch your spine tall. And exhale over to the left. Right hand to your left knee. Left hand behind you or on your thigh or on that knee as well. Look over your left shoulder or towards the left over shoulder area. Inhale, let your spine get taller. Exhale, twist. Again, mind your back. Don't have to use your hands to pull yourself. Your hands are just resting here. You have to pull yourself to the twist. You've twisted too far. And we'll come back through center. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, let them come all the way down. Exhale out your mouth. You have crossed legs. Switch the cross of your legs or ankles. If you don't worry about it. You're doing great. From here, similar twists, but we're going to use the arms as guides. So this time you're really using your abdominal muscles. Really imagine your abdominal muscles are doing this whole movement. You probably won't be able to twist as much. That's okay, and also the point. Inhale your arms to T. Exhale, twist over to the right. So look over your right shoulder, let your arm be your guide, let your right hand turn as far back as it can, and stop whenever you feel like your abdominal muscles cannot make you twist anymore. If this is only an inch off, great. hang out there. Reaching through the arms, shoulder blades down. Send energy out through your fingers. Grow tall with every inhale. And exhale back to center. Keep your arms at T. Inhale here, reach through the arms. Exhale, a little twist over to the left. Using left hand as a guide now. Just look at your fingers reaching out. All this movement should be coming from abdominal muscles here, your obliques. Inhale to come back to center. Lift the arms all the way up, palms facing each other. And exhale, release. And we'll come to all fours. If it is comfortable, if you need to grab a pillow or a towel to put underneath the knees, or a ball, totally up to you. Just for a little cat-cow movement. So you can be up on the toes or the tops of the feet, up to you for today. Make sure your shoulders are over top of your wrists. If you are using full hand, use every single tip of your fingers to press into the mat, or you can come up onto fists. Either version works. Whichever version you are in, inhale to tilt your pelvis, let your belly drop to a cow position, lift your nose. Exhale, use your belly button to drive all the way in reverse. You're gonna round in the upper back, pelvis tucks under, head comes down. Inhale, rolling the pelvis back, spine ripples, head comes up last. Nose lifting, leading that movement. Exhale to cat back, belly button lifts. The rest of the spine moves because the belly button is lifting towards the ceiling. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. Again, this does not have to be very big, as long as you are doing it slowly and feeling every single little muscle, every little vertebrae moving on its own. Keep pressing away from the mat, using your whole fingers, your whole hand, your shoulders. You know how cats press away from things. Stretching. One more, wherever you are. One more cat. And we'll come back to center. I'm just going to scooch a little bit forward. Right foot out, toes on the mat, coming into just a little calf stretch here. And saw a little bit back and forth. So coming in and out of the calf stretch. Still, if you want a little bit of a hand strengthening, using all of your fingers and almost like you're trying to claw your mat when you come forward and then pushing away back. So you can use your hands to drive this movement, or you can just hang out in calf stretch. Make it easy. It's up to you how much you want today. Lift the back of your knee towards the ceiling. Keep that leg straight. If it's bent, it's not quite the calf stretch you want. And try and spike the heel towards the back of your mat or the floor, whatever you are practicing on. And switch. Left side. Static stretch if you want it, or sawing a little bit back and forth. Coming in and out of said calf stretch. And then if you were sawing back and forth, coming a little static, making sure the back of that knee is lifted up towards the ceiling, spike your heel down, come into that stretch, just breathe into it. And coming back to all fours. And sitting back onto your heels, one child's pose here, stretching the arms out in front of you, bringing your forehead down to the mat or the ground. If you need to bring your knees a little bit wider, totally up to you. If you feel that that's a more comfortable child's pose for you, and then you're kind of settling down between the knees. You can also be up on the toes here, if that's okay for your feet. Find your preferred child's pose. I'm not going to tell you which one you absolutely must do. If you don't like mine, do a different one. Totally okay. And then walk your hands, in whichever child's pose you are in, over to the right side of your mat. So coming into a little bit of a stretch again on that left side. Breathe into your whole left side of your body. And then walking the hands back through center and over to the left, stretching out the right side of the body. And bringing the hands back to center. Child's pose again. One breath here in your preferred child pose. And coming up through all fours into a low lunge. So bring your right foot forward. We're just going to do a little 90-90 here. Bring your hands up on top of that right thigh. If you are practicing by a wall or a chair, something to hold on to, that can sometimes be very handy. Or you can have your hands just resting on top of that thigh. From here, we're just going to rotate, again, the pelvis as though you are rotating it forward. So there's rotating back, there's rotating forward. Rotate a little bit forward, you might feel a little bit more of a stretch right in the front of this left side. Try and lift up out of that hip. Tendency to want to lean onto that side. We're going to try and rise up. If it helps, if you're holding onto something and your balance will allow, lift that left arm up. Feel all of that stretching happening in that left hip. Stay very strong, very stable. With your right foot, press just a little bit into the mat with the base of the right big toe. Just for a little bit more stability. And then bring both hands down to the ground or the mat. Scoot your right foot forward a little bit more. And we're going to rock back into a hamstring stretch here. So if your right leg becomes completely straight, fantastic, but it does not have to be. I'm actually going to move a little bit. So your front toes can be pointed or flexed if you want to get a little bit more of a calf stretch again, totally up to you. But find your comfortable position. You can be on tented fingers, you can be on fists, and try and pull your right hip back. So you'll really feel that hamstring stretch. Your hips are going to want to go offside. Your right hip is going to want to come forward because that's easy. Pull your right hip back. Make sure your hips are in line. Lift your chest and breathe. If this is too much for you, you can absolutely keep that front leg bent. You can point the toe. That takes a little bit of the calf out of it and makes it a little bit easier depending on whatever flexibility you have today. And then we're going to do some ham rocks. So it's going to be rocking a little bit back and forth. You can close your lunge a little. We're going to rock forward. So coming into a hip flexor stretch. However this version looks to you, you're going to feel this is on the left side. Left side hip flexor stretch as you inhale. Exhale, rock back into your hamstring stretch on the right side. Using your hands to walk forward, inhale. And exhale, walking backward. You might have a really small lunge. Yours might be here. This is a perfectly acceptable lunge, as long as you're feeling it in the left front of the hip and the right back of the thigh. Moving with the breath in your own time. And trying to see if you can make your breath slow so that the movement is also slow. Pulling that right hip back when you get into your hamstring stretch and rocking forward. One more. And settling back into the hamstring stretch. We're going to hold this one again just for a few moments. Pull your right hip back. Point your toe if you need to. Front knee as straight as you can comfortably get it. Understand not everyone's leg will be straight. Totally okay. And then we'll switch. Coming through your all fours. And bringing your left leg up. Come to your 90-90 lunge first. If you're already comfortable here, absolutely. You can stay here. You can just lift up one hand. Just see how that goes. Maybe the other hand comes up. Maybe you hold onto your wall if you have one. And lift up out of the right side hip. Now, I will turn around so you can see this. I'm a little bit offset. My left foot is not right in line with my right knee. I've got two legs in two different patterns here. And instead of letting myself put all of my weight onto my right side, I'm lifting up. I'm using that pressure in the knee, pushing down against the floor to rise up, just like we did at the beginning with sitting. If it's okay for your balance, you have something to hold on to here. Lift that right arm up, feel the right hip flexor stretch a little bit more. A little bit of that pelvic rotation if you need it. If you don't need it, if you've already got the stretch, don't worry about it. Neutral pelvis for you then. Press a little bit, the base of that left big toe, this part of the foot here, right here. Just for a little bit of extra balance. And then release. Scooch your left foot forward if you need to. Coming into our hamstring stretch on the left side, the first hamstring stretch. So again, however bent that front knee needs to be, try and straighten it, but try and pull the hip back first. And then try and straighten the knee from there. Make sure your hips are in proper order. Absolutely point that toe to take the calf out if the calf is a little bit too tight. Chest forward, breathe. And then going into our hamrocks on this side. Very slowly and gently walking forwards with your hands, coming into our right side hip flexor stretch this time. And exhale, coming back, left hamstring. Taking your time, breathing as slowly as possible. the game, and you win if you are moving slowest. Make sure this time in your hamstring stretch, you're still pulling that left hip back because it's going to want to cheat forward, which isn't necessarily wrong. It's just not the full stretch that is optimal. We'd like to teach the body to be optimal. A couple more times here. And then settling back one more time into that left side hamstring stretch. Pulling your left hip back, maybe pointing that toe, chest lifted. You can be bent if it has to be bent, absolutely. And then coming back to all fours. Just for a moment, gonna do a little side to side. So look over at your left hip and look over at your right hip. And just a little back and forth, letting your shoulders move. Gonna get a lot more movement in the upper spine than the lower here. And whenever you're ready, coming back to center, walk your hands back. Sit down on your heels for your preferred child pose. We'll take another one here. Stretching your arms out all the way in front of you. Forehead to the mat. Take a few deep breaths. Try and breathe into your lower back or hips if you can. If you can breathe all the way into your butt, fantastic. Send all of that air down into your butt. And with every exhale, let your forehead melt a little bit more into the mat. And very slowly, we're going to make our way to lying down. If you want to just scooch to a lying down position from here, fantastic. Or you can come up onto the hands, walk your hands forward, coming into one small plank. Knees can absolutely be down, or you can lift them up depending how much you want today. I'm actually going to keep mine down because I'm feeling super chill today. Tuck your elbows in, slowly lower all the way down. Unless you were already here, in which case, thank you for waiting for me. From here, we're going to roll onto the right side. So take your right arm underneath your head for a little pillow. Take your right knee in front. So bottom leg and arm are tucked. Top arm and leg are going to stretch over top. Very gentle side stretch here. And just breathe into the left side of your body again. Very relaxed stretch here. If you're feeling like it's pulling a little bit too much, you can, if it's pulling in the shoulder, you can bend this top elbow a little bit. If you feel like it's pulling a little bit in the hip or the lower back, you can bend that top leg a little bit. So find whichever version of this stretch works best for you. Top leg and arms straight is the goal. But life is a journey, so that's fine. And then we'll roll onto the left side. So depending on where you are on your mat, I'm going to go forward and go over my face. Maybe you roll through your back, totally up to you. And same thing on the left side, getting your bottom leg and arm bent. Top leg straight, top arm straight as well. Feeling a stretch along the whole right side. If you need to bend that top knee just a little bit, or the top arm to take a little bit of pressure off if it's too much, totally okay. And this time, rolling onto the back. I'm going to roll and scooch because I'm falling off of my mat, but we're going to end up on our backs here. Knees bent, feet on the ground, and feet should be just a little bit out of reach of your fingertips. So find your heels and scoot your toes a little bit forward. You adjust the head, lift the head, make sure it's settled in. And then using the glutes, lift up your hips just a little bit and let them down, let the hips settle. From here, if you want, you can walk your feet out a little bit wider and let your knees fall in, just so you don't have to worry about them. Or you can keep them posted as they are, but I like to relax my legs sometimes. And hands to your belly again, just on the abdomen. Find your belly button, put your hands just below. Just take a moment to find your breath again. Breathing deep into your hands. Try and breathe so much that you lift your hands up. And slow, controlled exhale out of the mouth. Empty out from your chest first. And then whatever air is left in the abdomen follows. Inhale, lift your hands up using your breath. And exhale, empty out. Inhale in through the nose. And exhale like you're blowing out a candle. More, just like that. On your exhales, really try to reach that candle somewhere up here. And feel that little contraction right at the end of that exhale in the abdominal muscles. Feel at the end of that contraction, your belly button comes down a little bit. It makes its way towards your lower spine, towards the floor. And use that ab activation as we go forward to our next set of exercises. From here, you're definitely going to want to keep your knees apart. They can't fall in anymore because we're going to move one leg at a time. Starting on the right, inhale in. Exhale, slide your right foot out. Inhale, slide that right foot all the way back up. Exhale, hold here. Left side, inhale in, slide your left foot all the way out, straighten that leg on the ground. Exhale, slide your left foot back up. Using that core contraction the whole time. Right side again, inhale in, let that foot come out. This time, little twist. Let your left knee come over top of your right thigh. Just a small twist. So keep your hips on the ground. Keep your lower back on the ground. We're just moving that thigh in. Lift the thigh back up. Inhale. Exhale, slide your right foot up. Press into the ground with your left foot. Give yourself a little more stability. If you need to put your hands down as well for a little more tripod support, absolutely. Absolutely. Inhale in. Exhale, slide your left foot out. And very gently let your right knee now come over top of your left thigh. Just a little very gentle stretch for the hip here. Back is staying flat. Hips don't have to move very much. And then lift the right knee up again. Big inhale. Exhale, press into the mat with your right foot as you slide your left foot back up. You can take that version again, or if you feel comfortable with a bigger twist, we'll take the bigger twist on this version. So inhale in. Exhale, right foot out. Left knee comes over top of right thigh. If you want to take the bigger twist, let that hip come up. Let that knee come all the way over. See if you can get it to touch down onto the ground. It doesn't have to. If it feels tight in the back, just come back. Let that hip settle down again. But if it feels okay to come into this stretch, come here. Open up the left arm and bring it out towards your left side. Look off the left side of your mat. So we have a nice twist going on here. And breathe into your left hip. Breathe into the left side of your lower back. If you feel like it's not quite okay, you can absolutely bend your bottom knee. That'll straighten out the back a little bit, but you'll still get a little bit of that twist. The halfway point again. Coming back to neutral. Straightening bottom leg. Left hip comes down. Left foot to the mat. Inhale in. Exhale, bring your right foot back up. Using your abs. Inhale. Exhale, left foot goes out. And find your preferred twist on this side. Try and do the same thing you did on the first side. If you can, bringing that right knee over. Maybe it comes all the way to the ground. If that feels okay, opening up the right arm, looking over the right side of your mat. If you need to bend that bottom leg a little bit, absolutely go ahead. And breathe into the right hip and right side lower back. Very gently reversing out of the twist. So bringing your shoulder forward if it was twisted. Letting that right knee come up. Maybe you need your hands to lift it. That happens sometimes. Inhale in when you get here. Exhale, bring your left foot back up. Take a moment, bring your hands down, find the heels of your hands just outside of your fingertips. Squeeze your glutes to lift your hips up. And slowly settle them back down. Hips should be better aligned. Lower back straight. And then lift your right foot and bring your right ankle over top of left knee. If this is already enough for you, you can absolutely stay here. If you want a little bit more, reach forward, grab behind that left thigh, and bring your left knee towards left shoulder. Make sure your left knee is not coming towards your face. It's going to want to. It's going to want to tilt out. Bodies like to do those things. Make sure your left knee is coming towards left shoulder. You can keep that leg a little bit more straight if you want to. I just like to have mine bent so that I can get into it a little more. And this stretch, you might be feeling it a little bit on the inside of the thigh or the hamstring, but most of it will be on the outside thigh coming into the hip on that right side. Flex your right toes back towards your knee. And just breathe. And release the left leg if you were holding it. And we'll switch. I will scooch myself around here so you can see another angle if you need to. Lift up your left foot, left ankle on top of right knee this time. And reach forward if you want to. Grab behind that right knee. Bring right knee towards right shoulder. And flexing your left toes back towards your knee. And that'll just keep protection a little bit here in some of these muscles. The knees are going to want to switch over to one side. Don't let them do that. Feel the stretch in your left hip and thigh. And unwind, unravel, return to your base position. Just a couple windshield wipers from here. So again, find your heels, make sure your heels are just a little bit out of reach of your fingertips. Squeeze your glutes to settle your back, lifting the hip and letting the hips come back down. Now that we are in alignment, hands can be right on either side of the hips if you want them to be, or they can be out at a T for a little more support. I'm going to put the backs of my hands down so I can press into the ground a little bit. And just moving the knees back and forth, side to side, very gently. Knees do not have to come all the way down to the ground. They can go part way, they can go halfway, little way. This is a little more hip mobility, but still remember your abdominal muscles. Use your obliques to pull your knees back up, really anchor down with that belly button. Might as well get an ab workout while we're here, right? Anything for an ab workout. It's up to you, moving with the breath here. Typically, we inhale to bring the knees down, exhale to bring the knees back up. But you don't have to move with the breath because that might be a little slow for you today. You might want to windshield wiper a little faster. It's raining very hard. Coming back to center, I'm going to scoot back onto my mat. Don't mind me. And lifting both legs straight up in front of you. If you can get your knees all the way straight, fantastic. If you cannot and they have to be bent, totally okay. Make sure your knees, today we're not really going to get super into abs, so your knees can be a little bit above the plane of your hips. Usually if we're doing ab work, knees need to be right in plane of hips or beyond, but make sure that they're a little bit more settled today if they're bent, and see how far you can straighten your legs. Maybe not a lot, they might shake, quads might be a little tired, hamstrings might be tight. If you can get them straight and get your ankles above your hips, fantastic, hang out here. Otherwise, just feel wherever you get that hamstring stretch. Try and keep your lower back flush on the mat. If you need to tuck your hands underneath your hips just for a little bit of support, you totally can. And point and flex the feet while you're here, or the point and flex the toes. Getting a little more calf stretching going on. If you don't need the hip support, you can also point and flex the hands while you're here. Getting a little more movement. Maybe you want to do some circles. And circles the other way if you were doing them. And then hug your knees into your chest. And move your knees a little bit back and forth. So you're going to rock a little bit on your pelvis, back and forth, right on the lower back. Just a little side to side first. Like the hips are saying no. And then we'll make them say yes. So bring your knees out and back in. So a little nodding for the pelvis, saying, yes, I like this. This is good. And then knee circles. Really massaging that sacrum area. And circles the other way. Coming back to center, letting the feet come back down to the mat. Just moving the head a little back and forth. Shaking the head no. We won't do yes in this position with the head, just no. Today was not a good day to wear braids. And then coming back to center, just taking one big breath here. And a sigh out the mouth. And slowly roll onto one side, whichever side, does not matter. We're going to come back up to sitting. And we're going to bring the feet over to one side first. So knees, if you can, sitting onto one hip. Knees are going to be both pointing forwards, but offset. Feet are here, both on the one side. I'm on my left, so I'm going to bring my left hand, and I'm actually going to put it right on top of the foot that is available closest to me. My other foot is going to be over there. I'm going to lift up my right hand, coming into a little bit more of a stretch. Stretch on the right side again, but getting a little attention into that foot. You can really dig the heel of your hand into your foot or your fist if you want to. You can give a little massage to your foot today. Or you can just hold it and say, I love you, foot. You're a good foot. And then we'll come out. Switch your feet over to the other side. So coming up, I'm going to rotate a little bit. I'm a little off center. Bringing feet and knees out to the opposite side. So mine are now on my right side. Knees are offset a little bit. My right hand is going to come to the top of my left foot. I'm going to inhale, lift my left arm up. And coming into this little side stretch here, a little massage for my left foot now. Because this foot is also a good foot. Thank you, foot. I'm just kneading with my fist. You don't have to. You can just hang out on your foot. You can just give it a little pressure. And then releasing, we'll come to a wide-legged seated stance. So bringing the feet out on either side as wide as you can. Doesn't have to be very wide. Maybe you're right here. Totally okay. And seeing, again, if we can get the knees straight. If knees don't come all the way straight, if they're still a little bit up, that is totally okay. Just gonna find wherever your wide-legged stance is, really press in with your hips into the ground to get your spine tall. And then a little bit of that forward rotation. So I'll turn to the side again so you can see what I'm talking about here. So the pelvis is going to rotate forward. My torso is going to come forward with it. So we're not bending at the lower back. We're not reaching from the back here. This part of the back is going to stay straight from the base of the skull all the way to the top of the pelvis. The pelvis rotates and the spine moves because it's attached. Okay. You don't want to bend from the spine. Similar thing, like not bending from fingers. If I'm moving my elbow, the fingers move because they're attached. So it's kind of a similar principle. Rotating at the pelvis and seeing if you can reach ankles here. Maybe you're just holding onto your shins or the backs of the thighs. Whatever you can reach, maybe you're just holding onto the ground, or maybe your hands come right in between. Wherever your wide-legged stance is, even if your knees are not actually all the way straight, even if they're still up a little bit, imagine that they are straight. And imagine you're using the backs of your thighs, your hamstrings, to really press down into the ground. So not just the hips. Hamstrings are pressing in as well, coming into that forward rotation, lifting up, and finding that stretch. You might feel it in the hamstrings, you might feel it in adductors, the inner thigh here. Keep your chest lifted and breathe. So this is an active stretch here. Legs are going to be working. You are going to feel it. And then you can let the tension go from the thighs. Keep the pelvis rotation and relax a little bit into the stretch. Use your hands to support yourself. Keep your back still straight. Chest a little lifted. And breathe. Breathe into the inner thighs here. Breathe into the calves. Breathe into your feet. And then very slowly coming out of the stretch, coming back to a cross-legged position, seated position, where you can lie down for Shavasana at the end, which is going to be like 30 seconds because class ran late. I'm bad at time management. That's fine. Find your end of class position. Notice how your breath is feeling now. Notice any tension still remaining in the body. Don't worry about it if there's still tension. Totally okay. Just notice it. Notice if something new has started to complain. And then tell me about it later. And breathe. One last big inhale in, lift the arms all the way overhead, hands come together this time. And exhale, bring your hands towards your heart. Unless you're already lying down in a Shavasana, in which case I bow to you and your Shavasana. Fantastic job. Thank you so much for joining me today for beginners class. I will see you next week. You can return to any of these stretches anytime. We'll do some of them again and some new ones next time. So it's up to you. Enjoy your evening.